The morning sun rose over the colony world of four, painting the sky in soft shades of orange and pink. Children ran through the streets of the small settlement, laughing and chasing each other between the simple houses. Farmers walked to their fields, ready for another day of work under an alien sky that had become their home. Stood at the window of the administration building, watching his people start their day. He was 34 years old with tired eyes and strong hands. 10 years ago, he had been a logistics officer in Earth's military. Now he was the administrator of this small colony of 8,000 people. He liked this life better. There was peace here. There was purpose. "You are thinking too much again," said a voice behind him. He turned to see his wife, Hana, walking toward him with 2 cups of tea. She was 29, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. She was the colony's chief medical officer, but right now she was just his wife, bringing him morning tea. "I'm always thinking," he said, taking the cup from her hands. "That is your problem," she said, standing beside him to look out the window. "Look at them, they are happy. The crops are growing well. The children are healthy. What is there to worry about?" O did not answer, he just looked at the sky. The community hall, Elder Sung sat with a group of young people, telling them stories of Earth. He was 6, 7 years old, with white hair and a face full of wrinkles. Long ago, he had been a general in Earth's defense forces. He had seen battles and death. He had given orders that sent young people to die. When he retired, he came to 4 to find peace. He wanted to forget the sound of explosions and the smell of burnt ships. "Tell us about the war with the," said one of the young men. Sung shook his head. "There is nothing good in those stories. War is not adventure. War is loss. I hope none of you ever have to learn that." The young people looked disappointed, but they did not push him. They respected the old man too much. That afternoon, Ho received a message on his secure terminal. It was from Earth Fleet Command, encrypted with the highest security codes. His heart beat faster as he opened it. The message was short. "Dominion fleet movements detected near Sector 7. All colony worlds advised to prepare emergency protocols. Do not cause panic. More information to follow." Ho read the message 3 times. The Dominion. He had heard of them in news broadcasts. They were an alien empire that had existed for thousands of years. They had conquered hundreds of worlds and dozens of species. To them, humans were newcomers to the galaxy. Weak, primitive, barely worth noticing. He called an emergency meeting of the colony council that night. Only 5 people attended. Himself, Hana, Elder Sung, the chief engineer, and the head of the farming collective. "We should evacuate," said the engineer, a nervous man named Gi. "If they are coming, we cannot fight them. We are farmers, not soldiers." "Evacuate to where?" asked the farming head, a strong woman named Suni. "This is our home. We built this with our own hands. I will not run." "Running is not shameful if it keeps people alive," said Gi. "Living as refugees is not living," Suni shot back. Elder Sung raised his hand and everyone went quiet. "We do not know if they are coming here. The message said to prepare, not to run. Let us not make decisions based on fear." Oh nodded slowly. "We will prepare quietly, emergency shelters, supply caches, communication backups, but we will not tell the general population yet. There is no need to cause panic." Anna grabbed his hand under the table. Later that night, she told him something that changed everything. "I'm pregnant," she said. Ho stared at her for a long moment. Then he pulled her into his arms and held her tight. Joy and fear mixed together in his chest. A child, their child, born on this world that might soon be threatened. "We will be okay," he whispered, not sure if he believed it. 3 weeks passed. Life continued normally on the surface, but underneath, preparations were being made. Shelters were checked. Old weapons were pulled from storage. Communication relays were hidden in the hills. Elder Sung trained a small group of volunteers in basic defense tactics, calling it historical education to avoid suspicion. Then the sky changed. It was midday when the fleet dropped out of hyperspace. 20 massive warships appeared above 4, blocking out the sun with their shadows. The colony's communication system went dead instantly, jammed by technology. People stopped in the streets looking up at the dark shapes in the sky. Children started crying. Parents pulled them inside. Farmers dropped their tools and ran for their homes. O was in his office when the ships appeared. He watched them through the window, his face calm but his heart pounding. So this was it. This was war. His terminal flickered once, then displayed a message from the fleet. It was in Universal Standard, the Khan language of galactic trade. "Attention, human settlement. You are now under the protection of the Dominion. Resistance is not logical. Surrender your leaders and prepare for integration. You have 1 planetary rotation to comply." The Sung entered the office without knocking. His old eyes were hard now, the eyes of the general he used to be. "I always knew peace would not last forever," he said quietly. "I had hoped it would last longer than this." "What do we do?" asked Ho. Sung looked at the ships in the sky. "We do what humans have always done when someone threatens our home. We fight, we survive, we make them regret ever touching us." Anna appeared in the doorway, one hand resting on her stomach. She looked at her husband with fear in her eyes, but also with something else, determination. "Tell me what you need me to do," she said. Ho looked at his wife, at the old general, at the ships darkening the sky. Somewhere out there, Earth Fleet Command was receiving their distress signal. Help might come, or it might not. Either way, the people of 4 would not simply surrender. Took a deep breath. "Get everyone to the shelters. We are going to make them work for every inch of this world." Thought this would be easy. They thought humans would surrender like all the other species they had conquered. They thought wrong. The war had begun. Landing craft touched down outside the colony at dawn. Commander Al watched through the viewport as his soldiers prepared to disembark. This was his 43rd conquest. He had broken dozens of species, watched their leaders kneel before him, seen their resistance crumble into nothing. Humans would be no different. "Commander," said his second officer, "the humans have not responded to our surrender demand." Al made a sound that was almost like laughter. "They are confused. Primitive species often need time to accept their situation. We will help them understand." 500 soldiers marched toward the colony. They were tall creatures, covered in hard gray scales with 4 arms and eyes that saw in multiple spectrums. Their weapons could level buildings. Their armor could stop most projectiles. They had conquered empires. What could farmers do against them? I watched them coming from a hidden position in the hills. Beside him, Elder Sung held a pair of old binoculars. Behind them, 30 colonists weighed with whatever weapons they had managed to gather. They are confident, said Sung. They walk like this is a parade. Good, said Ho. Confident enemies make mistakes. In the hydroponics bay beneath the colony, Hana prepared her metal station. She had converted the underground farming facility into an emergency hospital. Other colonists helped her move supplies and set up beds. If there was going to be fighting, there would be wounded. One, a 19-year-old engineering student, worked in the corner with a pile of agricultural drones. His fingers moved quickly over control boards and wiring. What are you doing? Asked Hana. Making these useful, said one without looking up. These drones are designed to monitor crops and spray fertilizer, but with some adjustments they can monitor movements, may do some spraying of other things too. Hana smiled despite the fear in her heart. You are a clever young man. I'm a scared young man, one admitted, but I would rather be scared and doing something than scared and doing nothing. Reached the colony center and found it empty. The streets were deserted. The buildings were dark. Commander Al looked around with confusion. Where are they? He demanded. Perhaps they fled into the wilderness, suggested an officer. Then we burn the wilderness. They cannot hide forever. That was when the first explosion hit. A storage building on the edge of the colony erupted in flame. 3 soldiers went down, their armor cracked by the force of the blast. Before the others could react, gunfire erupted from multiple directions. Humans appeared on rooftops and windows behind barricades. They fired old rifles, hunting weapons, even tools that had been modified into weapons. Returned fire, their advanced weapons cutting through walls like paper. But the humans were not standing still. They fired and moved, never staying in one place long enough to be targeted. O led a group through the back alleys, hitting them from behind before disappearing into the maze of buildings. Elder Sung commanded another group that struck from the hills, then fade back into the forest. Commander Al was furious. This is impossible, they are farmers. They are not fighting like farmers, Commander, said his second officer, just before a bullet caught him in the throat. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it was over, they had taken the colony center, but at a cost of 60 soldiers. 60? Al had lost more troops taking this farming settlement than he had lost conquering entire civilization. And the humans were still out there, watching, waiting. Luna, Earth's moon, Admiral Bin stood in the command center of Earth Fleet headquarters. She was 50 years old, with short gray hair and a face that showed no emotion. She had served in the fleet for 30 years. She had seen humanity's first contact with alien species. She had hoped she would never see war. Admiral, said a young officer, we have received a distress signal from 4. The Dominion has invaded. How many ships? 20 cattle vessels, at least 10,000 ground troops. And our nearest fleet? The third fleet is 12 days away at maximum speed. We could redirect them, but the Council is advising caution. They do not want to escalate the situation. Admiral was silent for a long moment. She thought about the families on 4, the children, the people who had left Earth to build a new life among the stars. Get me a direct line to the Council, she said. 15 minutes later, she stood before a screen showing the faces of Earth's governing leaders. They looked worried. They looked uncertain. They looked like people who wanted someone else to make the hard decisions. Admiral, said the Council chair, we understand your concern, but they are a major galactic power. We cannot risk war over one small colony. With respect, said Admiral, we are already at war. They attacked our people. They touched our home. There is no debate here. The diplomatic channels. The diplomatic channels failed the moment their ships entered our space. If we do not respond, they will see it as weakness. They will take more colonies, more worlds, more of our people. The Council debated for another hour. Admiral weighed patiently. She already knew what she was going to do. She just needed the Council to stop talking long enough for her to do it. Finally, she received authorization. Limited engagement, defensive only, protect human lives. It was enough. As she left the chamber, she sent a single message to all human worlds. It was short. It was simple. It was the beginning of everything that would follow. They chose war. Now they will learn what that means. Back on 4, they made a terrible mistake. They captured 12 colonists who had not escaped in time. Commander Al ordered them executed in the colony square, broadcast on all frequencies. He thought it would break the human spirit. He thought they would see the futility of resistance. He was wrong. Those colonists who had been considering surrender, who had been thinking about running, who had been hopping to negotiate, all of them changed their minds in that moment. They picked up weapons. They joined the resistance. They stopped being afraid and started being angry. In the hydroponics bay, Hana watched the broadcast with tears in her eyes. She recognized some of the faces, friends, neighbors, good people killed for no reason. One put down his tools and stood up. His face was pale, but his hands were steady. Tell me where they need me, he said. I will fight. In the hills, Ho watched the same broadcast. Beside him, men and women wept, but they did not break, they did not run. They want us afraid, said Elder Sung. They do not understand. They just made us angry, and there is nothing in this galaxy more dangerous than angry humans protecting their home. Oh, nodded slowly. Help was coming. He had to believe that, but until it arrived, they would fight. They would make the pay for every life lost. They would show the galaxy that humans did not break. They would show them that this was a mistake. The Galactic Council Chamber was the largest structure ever built by sentient beings. It flowed in neutral space, far from any empire or territory, a massive sphere that could hold representatives from 1,000 species. Today, every seat was filled. Every eye was watching. Ambassador walked to the center platform. She was 45 years old, a former professor who had spent her career building bridges between species. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. "Honored representatives," she began. "3 weeks ago, the Dominion invaded a peaceful human colony. 8,000 civilians, farmers, teachers, children, are now trapped under military occupation. Our people are dying while we stand here and talk." The chamber was silent. Some representatives looked sympathetic, most looked uncomfortable, a few looked bored. Council Speaker, an ancient being whose species had guided the council for, leaned forward. "Ambassador, we understand your distress, but the Dominion is a recognized power. Their expansion, while regrettable, falls within established galactic precedent." "Precedent?" Voice cracked. "They are killing civilians, they are executing prisoners. How is that precedent?" "Many species have faced similar challenges," said another representative, a diplomat with smooth purple skin. "They were conquered by the 200 years ago. They adapted. They survived. Perhaps humans should consider a similar path." "We will not surrender our people." "And you will lose them anyway." This voice was not cruel, just matter of fact. "They have conquered hundreds of worlds. Your species is barely a century old in space. You do not have the ships, the technology, or the numbers to fight them. Accept this loss. Protect your remaining worlds. It is the logical choice." Looked around the chamber. She saw fear disguised as wisdom. She saw cowardice dressed up as practicality. These were old species, ancient civilizations that had survived by knowing when to bend. They had forgotten how to fight. They had forgotten how to be angry. She stepped closer to the speaker's platform. "You do not understand what you are witnessing," she said quietly. "You see a small species being bullied by a larger one. You think this is another conquest, another footnote in galactic history, but you are wrong." "Then enlighten us, Ambassador." "It's not a conquest. This is a mistake." Her voice grew stronger. "You have studied humans for a century. You have analyzed our culture, our history, our biology, but you have not understood us. When humans are threatened, we do not calculate odds. We do not weigh costs and benefits. We fight. We fight until we cannot stand, and then we crawl. We fight for our families, our homes, our people, and we do not forgive those who harm them." The chamber was silent. "Have awakened something that they cannot control. They think they are conquering a colony. They are starting a war that will not end until one side is destroyed. I came here hoping you would help us, but if you will not, then remember this moment. Remember that we warned you." She turned and walked out of the chamber. Behind her, the representatives began to whisper. On 4, the 3rd week of resistance was ending. The colonists had been pushed into the hills, living in caves and hidden bunkers. They were hungry, they were tired, but they were not broken. "O led a raiding party through the darkness, targeting a supply depot. They moved silently, using paths that only locals knew. They had technology, but the humans had knowledge. They knew every rock, every stream, every shadow on this world. The attack was quick and brutal. They killed 12 soldiers and destroyed enough supplies to set the occupation back a week. Then they disappeared into the night." In her underground hospital, Hana worked on the wounded. Her hands moved automatically, cleaning wounds and setting bones. She had not slept properly in weeks. The baby inside her was growing, and she wondered what kind of world her child would be born into. A soldier was brought in one night, badly wounded and left behind by his unit. The colonists who found him wanted to kill him. Hana stopped them. "We are not like them," she said. "We do not murder the helpless." Treated his wounds. The soldier watched her with confusion in his alien eyes. "Why?" he asked in broken universal standard. "We are enemies. I would not help you." "I know," said Hana. "That is the difference between us." The soldier survived. He was eventually traded back to the in exchange for captured colonists, but he never forgot the human who saved his life. He told others. The story spread. In deep space, the Third Fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. 22 human warships faced the blockade. Captain Dong stood on the bridge of the destroyer Nonhole, watching the enemy positions on his tactical display. "They outnumber us," said his first officer. "They always do," said Dong. "Signal the fleet, standard attack formation. We punch through to the colony or we die trying." Were surprised by the attack. Their tactical computers predicted that the humans would wait for reinforcements or attempt negotiations. Instead, the human ships charged directly at the blockade, weapons firing. Battle was fierce and terrible. Human ships were smaller and less powerful, but their crews fought with a fury that they could not understand. Ships that should have retreated kept fighting. Crews that should have surrendered kept attacking. 2 human destroyers rammed cruisers when their weapons failed, sacrificing themselves to create openings for their comrades. The tactical AI kept recalculating, trying to predict human behavior. It could not. Humans did not follow logical patterns. They did not retreat when the odds were against them. They did not surrender when death was certain. They just kept fighting. After 6 hours, the battle ended in a stalemate. The still held the blockade, but their reinforcements had been delayed. Human supply ships had reached the surface. The resistance had new weapons, new medicine, new hope. Captain Dong looked at the damage reports. 5 ships lost, hundreds dead, but they had proven something important. "Signal Admiral," he said. "Tell her the blockade can be broken. We just need more ships." Across the galaxy, other species watched the battle reports with growing amazement. The humans were not surrendering. The humans were fighting back. The humans were winning small victories against a power that had never been challenged. In the Galactic Council chamber, representatives whispered to each other. Perhaps they had misjudged this new species. Perhaps the humans were more dangerous than they appeared. In her quarters on the diplomatic station, Ambassador received a message from Earth. Reinforcements were being gathered. Every human world was contributing ships, soldiers, resources. The entire species was mobilizing. She thought about what she had said in the council chamber. This is not a conquest. This is a mistake. She hoped they were beginning to understand that now. She hoped they were beginning to feel fear. Because humanity was coming for them, and there would be no mercy for those who had touched their home. 6 months had passed since the invasion of 4. What they had expected to be a simple conquest had become a nightmare that spread across the stars. On Earth, General Park Eye stood before a wall of tactical displays, watching the war unfold on a dozen fronts. She was 49 years old, a career soldier who had never expected to command the largest military operation in human history. But here she was, leading millions of soldiers against an enemy that had never known defeat. "Report from the 7th Division," said an aide. "Colony World Shin 3 has been liberated. Forces are in full retreat." "Casualties?" "Light General, the enemy was not expecting our new tactics." I nodded. The new tactics, that was the key to everything. Humans had learned from every battle, adapted to every challenge. They had taken technology and made it better. They had studied strategy and found its weaknesses. They had done in 6 months what most species could not do in centuries. In a research facility hidden beneath the mountains of Korea, scientist Min worked on his LACE project. He was 41 years old, a physicist who had spent his career studying peaceful applications of energy systems. Now he designed weapons. "The new shields are ready," he told his team. "Based on captured technology but improved, their weapons will not penetrate them. Not anymore." His assistant, a young woman named Mi-young, looked at the test results with wonder. "How did you improve on technology that is thousands of years more advanced than ours?" Min shrugged. "They stopped innovating centuries ago. They conquered everyone who challenged them, so they never had to improve. We had to. Desperation is a powerful teacher." Across human space, the same story repeated itself. Engineers found weaknesses in ship designs. Tacticians developed strategies that the enemy could not predict. Soldiers learned to fight in ways that no galactic tactical computer could anticipate. Had been fighting the same way for. Humans changed their approach every week. On 4, the resistance had become legendary. Host fighters had held out for 6 months against overwhelming odds. They had been pushed to the edge of destruction 100 times, and 100 times they had found a way to survive. The Liberation Force arrived on a cold morning. Human broke through the weakened blockade and landed in the hills where the resistance was hiding. Host stood in the rain, watching soldiers pour out of the ships. Admiral Bin was among them. She walked through the mud to where the resistant leaders had gathered, and she saluted them. "Administrator Ho," she said, "Earth honors you and your people. What you have done here will never be forgotten." Ho was too tired to feel proud. "It is not over yet. They still hold the colony center." "Not for long." The battle to retake 4 lasted 3 days. Human soldiers fought alongside colonists who had been resisting for half a year. The demoralized and undersupplied fought back desperately, but it was not enough. When it was over, Ho walked through the ruins of the colony he had helped build. The streets where children once played were now filled with rubble. The buildings where families once lived were now burned shells, but the people had survived, most of them, and they could rebuild. I found him standing in what used to be the town square. She was heavily pregnant now, her belly round beneath the dirty clothes she had been wearing for months. She took his hand and stood beside him. "The baby is coming soon," she said. "Where will we live?" "Anywhere we want," said Ho. "We will build again better than before." At night, as the human forces secured the colony, Hana went into labor. The underground hospital where she had saved so many lives became the place where she would give birth to her own child. Her son was there when it happened. He had been wounded in the final battle, but he refused to leave. He sat in a chair beside Hana's bed, his old face tired but peaceful. "I wish I could live to see what this child becomes," he said. "You will," said Hana, gritting her teeth through a contraction. Sung shook his head slowly. "The doctors have told me the truth. The wounds are too deep, but I have lived long enough. I have seen things I never thought I would see. I have seen farmers become warriors. I have seen an empire tremble. I have seen humanity show the galaxy what we are made of." The baby was born as gunfire still echoed in the distance. It was a girl, small and red-faced, screaming her first breath into a world at war. "What will you name her?" asked Sung. Ho held his daughter carefully, tears streaming down his face. "Me," he said. "It means future, because she is proof that we have one." Sung smiled. Then he closed his eyes and did not open them again. On the High Sovereign called an emergency meeting of his advisors. The war was not going according to plan. The war was not going according to any plan. "How is this possible?" demanded the Sovereign. "They are primitives. They were supposed to break in days. Instead, they are pushing us back." The advisor stepped forward nervously. "High Sovereign, our analysis indicates that we misunderstood the humans." "Explain." "They do not fight like other species, Sovereign. Other species fight for territory, resources, power. When the cost becomes too high, they surrender. But humans do not calculate cost the same way. They fight for each other." "What do you mean?" "Every human we kill makes the others fight harder. Every world we threaten unites more humans against us. They do not see individual losses as reasons to surrender. They see them as reasons to continue. The more we hurt them, the stronger they become." The Sovereign was silent for a long moment. "Then we destroy them completely. We mobilize everything. We crush them before they grow any stronger." "Sovereign, our forces are already stretched thin. The humans have launched attacks on 17 worlds. Our supply lines are." "I do not care about supply lines. I care about victory." The Sovereign rose from his throne, his scales darkening with rage. "No primitive species has ever the dominion. This will not be the first time. Mobilize everything. This ends now." Across the galaxy, humans received the news of total mobilization. In the council chambers, Ambassador addressed the representatives again. "They are gathering their full strength," he said. "This will be the largest battle in galactic history, and humanity will face it alone because you chose to do nothing." But this time she was not alone. Representatives from 3 species stood up. "Not alone," said the diplomat who had once advised surrender. "We have seen what humans can do. We have seen your courage, your determination, your refusal to break. Perhaps it is time we remembered those qualities ourselves. We will send supplies." Others followed. Not soldiers, they were still too afraid for that. But supplies, metal equipment, intelligence about movements. It was not much, but it was something. Mild for the first time in months. The galaxy was finally paying attention. Humanity was ready to show them what came next. 1 year after the invasion of 4, the largest fleet in galactic history gathered at the edge of space. 200 human warships faced the assembled might of the Dominion. Behind them, observer vessels from a dozen neutral species watched and recorded everything. Admiral Bin stood on the bridge of her flagship, looking at the tactical display. They had 300 ships. They had the advantage in numbers and firepower and experience. By any logical calculation, humanity should retreat and defend their own borders. But humans were not logical, not when it came to protecting their own. "Signal the command ship," said the admiral. "Open channel." The screen flickered, and the face of the High Sovereign appeared. He looked older than the intelligence photos had shown, his scales pale with stress. "Commander," he said, "you have fought well, your species has impressed us, but this is your last chance. Withdraw your fleet, accept our terms, we will allow you to keep your core worlds." Admiral's face showed no emotion. "Here are our terms. Withdraw from all human space. Return every prisoner you have taken. Pay reparations for the lives you have destroyed. Do this and the war ends today." The Sovereign laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You are in no position to make demands." "I'm in exactly the position to make demands. Because unlike you, I know what my people are willing to sacrifice. Every ship in this fleet is crewed by volunteers who know they might die today. They came anyway. Can you say the same about your soldiers?" Sovereign ended the transmission without answering. I watched the exchange from a troop transport at the edge of the formation. He had left 4 for the first time in a year, joining the liberation forces that would land on any world the fleet managed to reach. Hana and baby Me were safe on Earth now, waiting for him to come home. He thought about Elder Sung. He thought about the friends he had buried. He thought about the colonists who had died in the first days of the invasion. This battle was for them. "All ships battle formation," ordered Admiral. "Begin the attack." The Battle of the Crimson Reach, named for the red nebula that formed the backdrop, lasted 12 hours. It was the largest engagement in the history of space warfare, and it rewrote every tactical manual in the galaxy. Ships fought in ways they had never seen. They coordinated attacks through encrypted channels that changed frequency every few seconds. They used small fighter craft to draw fire while larger ships targeted weak points. They sacrificed damaged vessels to create openings for their comrades. Captain Dong led a squadron of destroyers against the center. His ship, the Indomitable, had been rebuilt 3 times since the first battle at 4. It would not survive this day. "Commander, our shields are failing," reported his first officer. "Then we get closer," said Dong. "Ram speed." Indomitable drove directly into the command vessel. At the last moment before impact, Dong triggered the ship's reactor overload. The explosion destroyed both vessels and killed the fleet commander. In his final transmission, Dong said only, "For 4." The lines began to break. Without their command ship, without their leader, the ancient discipline that had carried them through 1,000 conquests started to fail. Ships began retreating, then running, then surrendering. By the time the battle ended, they had lost 200 ships. The survivors fled toward there, leaving human space behind. Humanity had won. The diplomatic station, Ambassador addressed the Galactic Council one final time. The chamber was fuller than it had ever been. Every species wanted to witness this moment. "The Dominion has been defeated," she said. "Their fleet is shattered. Their empire is crumbling. And now you want to know what humanity will do with this victory." The representatives leaned forward. "We'll go home," said. "We will rebuild our colonies. We will bury our dead and raise our children. We will not take territory. We will not enslave their people. We will not become what we fought against." Murmurs of surprise rippled through the chamber. "You could take everything," said Council Speaker. "You have the power now. Why show mercy?" Smiled sadly. "Because we remember what it feels like to almost lose everything. We remember the fear, the desperation, the anger. We will not put another species through that, not even those who deserve it." She paused, looking around the chamber at all the species who had watched humanity fight and die, who had offered nothing when help was needed most. "But understand this," she continued. "We will never forget what happened. We will never forget that when we asked for help we stood alone, and we will never be caught unprepared again. Touch our people, threaten our homes, and you will face the full wrath of humanity united. This is not a threat, it is a promise." The chamber was silent. Months later, Ho returned to 4. The colony was being rebuilt, slowly and carefully. New buildings rose from the ashes of the old. New fields were planted where battles had been fought. New families moved into homes that had been rebuilt by volunteers from across human space. Anna was waiting for him at the landing pad, holding me in her arms. The baby was almost 6 months old now, with her mother's eyes and her father's stubborn chin. "Welcome home," said Anna. O held his wife and daughter close, feeling tears run down his face. He had never thought he would see this day. He had been prepared to die for this colony, for these people, for his family, but somehow he had survived. They walked together through the new streets of the colony. Children were playing again. Farmers were working in the fields. Life was returning to normal, or at least a new version of normal. In the town square, a new memorial had been built. It listed the names of everyone who had died in the invasion and the year of resistance that followed. Elder Sung's name was near the top. So were the names of friends, neighbors, children who had never had the chance to grow up. O stood before the memorial for a long time. Hana stood beside him, quiet and patient. "Do you think it was worth it?" she asked finally. He looked at the names carved in stone. He thought about the cost, the lives lost, the years stolen, the innocent destroyed. He thought about everything humanity had sacrificed to win this war. And he looked at me, sleeping peacefully in her mother's arms. He looked at the children playing in the square. He looked at the blue sky above, clear of enemy ships. "Yes," he said, "it was worth it." At night, as the stars came out over 4, Ho held his daughter up to see them. She reached toward the lights with tiny hands, not understanding what they were, not knowing the war that had been fought among them. "The stars are not scary anymore," he told her. Because now everyone knows you should never touch humanity, you should never threaten our homes, you should never harm our children. Anna put her arm around him, looking up at the same stars. They should have left us alone, she said softly. Oh nodded. They should have, but they chose war, and now the galaxy will never forget what happens to those who threaten humanity. Somewhere out there among the stars, other species were watching, learning, remembering. Humans were peaceful. Humans wanted nothing but to live and grow and explore. But humans were never helpless, and anyone who forgot that lesson would learn it the hard way. Just like they had